But looking at NATO's track record, I would not hold my breath. We are talking about the most brutal war machine in the world. Their power is overshadowed by just one thing: their hypocrisy. Let me tell you what the NATO founding charter says, and listen to this closely. This is the NATO founding charter. The parties to this treaty are determined to safeguard the freedom, common heritage, and civilization of their peoples, founded on the principles of democracy, individual liberty, and the rule of law, except when it suits their political interests. In that case, the treaty goes out of the window. The best example is this whole Nordic expansion. The West was so eager to admit Sweden and Finland into NATO, they just had to find a way around Turkiye. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was blocking both memberships. So what does NATO do? Abandon their founding treaty. They sacrifice principles for politics. Let me tell you how. Around 100,000 Kurds live in Sweden, plus 16,000 in Finland. Most of them are fleeing persecution in West Asia, in countries like Turkey, Iran and Iraq. Europe was supposed to be a safe haven for them, a place to restart their lives, but not anymore. This week, Finland and Sweden struck a deal with Turkey. Erdogan lifted his objection to NATO's expansion. In return, he got some concessions. And I've got that document with me. It's one of the most loosely worded agreements in history. Listen to what it says. As prospective NATO allies, Finland and Sweden extend their full support to Turkey against threats to its national security. But who decides that criteria, national security? Sweden has a number of Kurdish lawmakers in their parliament. Do they constitute a national security threat now? Or maybe the hundreds of Kurdish kebab vendors. Are they a threat too? That's problem number one. Now listen to problem number two. Finland and Sweden, this is what they say, Finland and Sweden will address Turkey's pending deportation or extradition requests of terror suspects expeditiously and thoroughly. Again, loosely worded, Turkey is already piling the pressure on Sweden and Finland. It wants to extradite 33 suspects, 17 members of the Kurdistan Workers' Party or the PKK, and 16 supporters of Fethullah Gulen. Gulen is a Turkish preacher. Erdogan accuses him of plotting the 2016 coup. Now here's the problem. Europe already considers the PKK to be a terrorist group, but not the Gulen movement or the YPG, which is fighting the Islamic State in Syria. Finland and Sweden are hosting these dissidents. They promised them a new life, but now that promise has been abandoned for politics. Listen to this Kurdish politician in Sweden describe the situation.
By myself, a refugee, and I thought that here was the haven for us. But now, it was 10 days ago, I didn't feel that actually that was the haven I came to, because other power, dictatorship powers outside, they have demand. They climb on our, democracy. That is hard to understand.
And all of this for what? To humiliate Vladimir Putin, to irritate Russia even more in the middle of a war. What happened to all the claims of human rights, all the promises of equality? Let me show you a report from February 2022. The European Human Rights Court had pulled up Turkey. They accused Erdogan of targeting Kurdish lawmakers. A number of them were put in prison. The court said legal rights were violated by Erdogan's government. And what does Europe do? Surrender to his demands 4 months later. And why just Europe? The United States did the very same thing. After the deal was struck, US officials said they made no concessions, that they offered nothing to sweeten the deal. But look at today's headline. Biden administration throws support behind potential F-16 sale to Turkey. Interesting timing, wouldn't you say? Turkey lifted its objection on Tuesday. Biden agrees to sell the F-16 jets on Wednesday, yet the US claims no concessions were made. And just to be clear, Erdogan requested these jets back in October 2021. It's been 9 months. So for 9 months, Joe Biden sat on the proposal, but this week he agrees. That's too good to be a coincidence. The fact is, both the US and Europe sold their so-called ideals, not just this week, but throughout this war. Turkey kept violating Western sanctions on Russia. They welcomed Russian oligarchs. They welcomed Russian investments, but the West said nothing. Compare that to how they treated countries like India. Lectures for buying Russian oil, which, by the way, is not a sanctioned commodity. So the next time Europe talks about human rights, point to the Kurds of Sweden and Finland. They were promised a new life. Instead, they're getting a painful reminder of their old one. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.